It is one of the most famous racetracks in the world, and it plays host to not one, but two races of the Classic Indycar Series. It is a track that needs no introduction. Welcome to Indianapolis. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Green Flag TV. My name is Nolan Ramp. We'll bring you all of racing action from start to finish this afternoon from your next round of the Classic IndyCar Series presented by VRS and Buck Kicker here on Sunday afternoons. I'm joined alongside by Gary Godso today. And Gary, what a wild journey it has been so far this season, but there is still a lot ahead of us. This is the first of two races this season at this track, but this one not taking place on the famed 2.5-mile oval, but rather on the infield road course that saw its introduction to IndyCar racing, I believe, in 2014.
Yeah, these cars that we see here in the sim that they're actually using on this configuration, of course, never actually raced here for real. The first cars to race here were the DW12 chassis, and of course now the modern-day IR18, which is the DW12 with the IR18 aero kit on them. But yeah, all the track records and everything were set in a car that was a little bit faster than these guys, so they're not quite as fast when we compare them to contemporary times. But this is a really good course. It's a 2.439 mile, 14 turn oval integrated road course. We're going to be doing, I think, 85 laps here today, which is going to be for a long race. It'll make for a long race. But the interesting thing is if you watched Indy GP on Saturday for real life, you might have an idea of kind of the pit windows and everything. Well, throw that information out because these cars have bigger tanks than those cars. These are 22-gallon tanks on these IR09, IR05 cars. So the stints that you saw with the Indy GP, and also they had the two-tire rule that they had to change. They had to change. They had to do 2 stints on the red tires and 2 stints on the prime tires. We don't have that here either. So expect longer stints and not as much tire strategy going on with these cars in this race versus kind of what you saw on Saturday. So it's going to be something interesting and new. Plus, we only have 4 points separating the top 2 in the points.
An incredibly hot track surface down under 118 degrees Fahrenheit down to the racing surface is going to mean that tire deck is high throughout this afternoon. And you talk about the championship, right? Like you say, only 4 points separating Cameron Dance from Thomas Moosen at the top of the boards. And then it's a good 14-point drop back to Logan Simmons. Jimmy Wilson still with a 25 for the points lead as well. But already you're able to see a lot of separation, almost 50 points now between first and 10th place in the standings here. Cameron Dance and Thomas Moosen, and looking like this could very well go down between Orbit Drop Air Motorsports and Iconic Motorsports for the Drivers' Championship.
I think we're going to see some new people maybe make a move, at least today, in terms of performance. I'll be looking at Ethan Egan today. He's even though he's 13th in the standings, he won the top split race here in the IIS using the IR18s on Wednesday. So this is a guy that has a lot of laps here, albeit in a slightly different and faster Indy style car. But I expect them to be fast here today and do well in the race. But you can never rule out any time that you're on a road course, and Cameron and Thomas are in the lineup. They are kind of like the road course meisters.
Well, take a ride on board with one of these drivers. Why not? Let's jump with Sebastian Kinder, who can take us for a trip around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's road course. Of course, this track appearing in CIS for the second year in a row this afternoon. Not something we see all too often. Usually CIS switches it up from year to year. But for the second year back-to-back, we see the road course on par here this afternoon. Breaking out a 300-foot braking boards down in the turn number 1 for the first corner. And boy, that first corner going to be the site, I think, of the most overtakes out of the afternoon.
Yeah, it's going to be that and turn 7, and maybe the turn leading into the turn 1 infield portion. But here is the chicane. This is now back down the Holman stretch, and we're going to get into one of our second passing zones coming into turn 7. And this right here, and then it's a left-hander. They go into the S's, all very flat, very featureless here. So you got to really memorize a lot of this, using a lot of the curves. That's pretty standard here. Watch this right-hander using almost all that curve right there. Then they float out to the curve here. Now they're in front of the sweeps. Now they're in turn 2. Now they come out onto the oval into the short chute on the south end of the racetrack. Then we break again. Here's another passing zone right here for some. Then we're in the infield of turn 1. Here's your pit entry, a very narrow pit entry. We'll continue to watch that. And here they come hard on the acceleration. But you gotta watch the grass right there. You might flip a wheel and you might spin out. Then it's 100% throttle all the way down to the braking zone. Maximum speed about 185 miles per hour into the braking zone, and then hard on the brakes. And then all the while you're watching cars coming back onto the race course off of pit road there. And then that is completion of 1 lap riding around with Seb Kinder.
That final corner, I think, is going to be the nemesis of several today. It's so easy to underestimate it. And in last year's race, we saw a pretty hefty pile out there. I think about 2 or 3 cars got collected. One shot sideways and went into the pit wall. Another one slid in behind, just trying to avoid. And, well, it was just on from there. It was a complete madhouse for that race down to that final corner. But don't discount that chicane as well. Of course, that chicane, a new entry to the 2014 layout, just out of turn number 4, I believe it is. That sharp left-right flick also caught out several drivers last season, and I would expect today to be no different.
Hey, at least we're not doing a standing start like they did in 2014 for real. If you want to check that out, go to YouTube and check out the start of the 2014 Indy GP after you're done watching us, of course. But they IndyCar experimented with standing starts here. That was a bit of a debacle, and it's probably one of the reasons why they don't do standing starts anymore on road courses.
Well, we'll get down into our starting grid this afternoon, and starting on pole position for us, we're going to start it off with Thomas Musadin, the iconic motorsports driver, right now, number 1 to the top of the boards at the 111.347. Team Watson Racing's Ethan Hagen then won the IIR race over here just a few days ago. He is 300ths off of the leading pack. From there, back in row number 2, it's going to be Willie Schwabauer for Iconic Motorsports, alongside your current points leader, Cameron Dance for Orbit Drop Bear Motorsports. Row 3, headed up by Cesare Manzano for North Sim Racing, alongside Lucas Santos, one of his best qualifying efforts of the season for Screech Moose Motorsports, but still looking for a decent performance after crashing in all 3 races so far to start off his campaign. Sebastian Kinder then for Team Watson Racing down at 7th, alongside his teammate Logan Simmons down in the number 8 spot. And moving back to close out the top 10 is Florian Goud, another Team Watson driver, this time alongside Andrew Wood for Power Slide Team Chimera.
That's a big swing. They're starting a little bit further in the back, and they will be looking to make their way up 4. Back on row 6, we got Johnny Garrett and Jan Hoffman. Back behind them, we got Jamie Wilson. We know he wants to go to the front, and Adam Eckert. Then we have Andrew Aiken and Giacometti back in row 8. Lucas LaVille in row 9, along with Mateus Marcomini. And we have Sturm and Rodriguez in row 10.
Moving on back into row number 11, it's Julian Altena alongside Robert Groscher. Groscher did not qualify. He is not expected to start this race. He is just here for stats keeping for the replay, so he will not be racing this afternoon. Alexander McBean for Usagi Racing will be back in 23rd alongside Randy Schumann for AeroX. And then it's Robert Barnicow and Stefan Mellis to bring up what will end up being a 25-car grid. So the field working their way into turn number 1 this afternoon, and just about ready to get this show on the road. I have a question for you, because obviously you're the big IndyCar history buff. Why the heck did IndyCar decide that with standing starts? They only did it once, and I cannot for the life of me imagine why.
Well, they did it for a good portion, I think the entire 2014 season. I think they're just trying to do something different. Now, before the merger, the Champ Car World Series was doing standing start, so I think there was a lot of people that, especially the Champ Car drivers that came over to the IRL, then later became IndyCar when everything remerged properly. There was kind of like, well, let's do something different for the road courses, trying to make ourselves stand out, and it was fun. But I'm not a big road course guy, and flying starts is really IndyCar's MO, and they kind of return to that, especially after the very bad wreck. And I shouldn't say very bad. It looked a lot worse than what it really was. It could have been a lot worse back in 2014 here, but that was kind of one of the key catalysts to just keep it a rolling start.
I don't know. I like the appeal of standing starts. I mean, the absolute chaos of watching all those cars thunder down towards the opening corner from a standing start is just... It is unlike anything you can see, and I feel like the anticipation builds that much more when you're sitting on the starting grid. Case in point, the Beer League often having their big Turn 1 calamities with those 30-plus car fields, and, well, who knows? Maybe we'll dabble with that at one point in Classic IndyCar Series further into the future. But for now, any favorites to win this one? My money's on Moosin at the head of the field.
I'm going with Ethan Hagen.
You think Ethan Hagen? All right.
Iron sharpens iron here as her pace car pulls off, getting ready to go racing. But he's put in a lot of laps, even though it wasn't in this car. A lot of laps count here.
We'll work our way out of the final corner, and we are happy that you are joining us for more racing action here on this Sunday afternoon. Moosin on the loud pedal. And we are go at the Brickyard. Moostinen with a great getaway down in the turn number 1.
They got all accordioned up behind Lucas Santos. Not a good start there. We're going 3 wide at
4 for a moment.
Yeah. We're through, I think. Yeah, we're through.
But only just, as it is a complete hornet's nest here. Watch for the chicane. This one of the big trouble spots that we saw last season. With the whole field looking like we're going to get our way out of that here at the end of at the start of the opening lap here. But several cars kind of get a little bit bottled up there for a hot second, and I think for the most part we've been able to get around this mostly clean.
Yeah, I think we had some wheel spin on the start there, coming to the green flag, and it really allowed like the top 6, the top 5 to kind of put that big gap that you see kind of starting right around Seb Kinder and Andrew Wood. See a big gap back to those guys, and that's kind of where the binding of everyone kind of the wheel spin. And of course you can't pass until you get past the start-finish line, or at least it goes green. So I think some people, the pedal wasn't as loud for some, and then when they did hit that pedal, they got wheeled spin.
No move for Cameron Dance being made into turn number 1. Further behind, we do see a little bit of side-by-side. Lucas Santos down 2. Try to go. Oh, no! Collects Andrew Wood. Wood up into the air, and where he's able to gather it up. How about that? That's got one of the best saves I think I've ever seen.
Little Joey Chitwood action, and the stunt spectacular going into turn 1 for Andrew Wood. He's lucky his teammate was coming through and allowed him to get a little bit of room, but I'm sure Andrew's not happy about that as he's taking a stab at Johnny Garrett on the inside, coming down the hole and straight into turn 7.
Good look being made there. Andrew Wood makes one up on Johnny Garrett. And let's take a look back at the start of this race as watch it how aggressively this came about for the field. This is coming down towards turn number 1. And you saw the field fan out 3, and I do believe they went 4 here, Gary, coming down into that opening corner.
Yeah, they did. A little bit of opportunistic hopes there going into the turn 1. But if you rewatch that start from about the angle of Lucas Santos, you're going to see everybody kind of tightening up back there about that start, at that point in start.
And this is what Andrew Wood saw, up on 2 wheels, and I mean, hey, that's a, would you call that a save?
Yeah, big time save. The Duke boys would be proud on that one.
I mean, hey, he barely lost any time from it, so fair play. What a wild moment, though. Lucas Santos almost being taken out for the 4th week in a row. Feel bad for Santos in a way. He's a big IndyCar. He's really dove into the IndyCar community in full force. He loves these cars, and he's feeling a little bit dejected after those first 3 races and how his season has started. But I think we cannot forget his performance at Phillip Island, right? Got collected in that turn 2 crash where Billy Schwabauer got tipped upside down, fell all the way, almost to about 20th place, fought his way all the way back, and I think nearly scored a top 5 in that race. He's got pace. He's just got to have circumstances fall his way for once.
Yeah, the finish first you must finish, and Mustanen just set a purple lap that time of 1:12.2 with Cameron right on his attenuator at the moment. But yeah, to finish these races, I mean, you got to get there first. So sometimes diving into a full send situation is discretion is a better part of valor. Maybe backing off. That time he saw an opportunity, especially you don't get very many opportunities on Andrew Wood. Let's face it. I mean, he's one of the best out there. And if you have an opportunity on Wood, he tried to take it. Just got a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact that sent Andrew two-wheeling out into the grass.
It's under fire as well. Logan Simmons back here in the number 92, really looking like he wants to try to have a go here at the number 19. So Simmons, whoa, a bit of a twitch at the tail end there. Able to gather it up, though, so far. And we're going to keep on keeping on.
Oh, he dived it deep into there. Oh, when he wanted that, get that shot of the outside, Lucas saw it coming, slammed the door, and really, Logan had no place to go but to the grass there, and that's going to put him back into the grass of his teammate right behind him, and that's going to give a little bit of breather to Lucas.
And right behind them, Johnny Garrett went off the road, swung one to the inside, one of the Chimera cars off into the grass, and good heads-up driving from whoever that was. I believe that was Jamie Wilson. No, it was Andrew Wood again. Wood saw it coming, and he well prepared for it.
Wood's doing a little bit too much landscaping for the IMS lawn crew this race already, and he's made another dip into the grass. So maybe we will see him later on one of the riding lawnmowers.
So the battle very much on right now as this year the fight for 12th. Oh boy, Johnny Garrett just hangs on. Adam Ecker was looking for the inside, didn't find it though.
That was it. Now, from someone's point of view watching that, they're like, Johnny threw a block. You're allowed one move. Etiquette-wise, you're allowed one move. Then if you make another move reacting to the car behind you, that's blocking. Johnny did not block there. He went a defensive move to the inside. Adam tried to send it even lower, but when you get to that braking zone and that turn, really, that's too low. You need to be a little bit higher, otherwise you're going to miss the apex. Oh, and Hoffman right out to the wall.
Look at it, you saw as well. Yeah, Hoffman made that move around the outside of Ecker to the final corner. Barely ever seen that.
Lucas
now 3 wide.
Holy braking zone.
Takes it away.
Wow.
And Giacometti takes him out. Off the road goes LaVille. He's able to wrangle it underneath him. And I think, again, we're able to just barely survive, but for the second time in a row, a car gets on 2 wheels and doesn't go around.
And if you saw that going into the braking zone, those rotors were lighting up red, so they were hard on the binders. Julian getting a shot to the inside of Mark Meany. He gets another position. Julian's up 5 to 16th.
Marcamini on the hunt. This is the pass that happened with Willie Schwabauer down into turn number 1. This was the move made for third here, and in fact, Egan pulled aside and let him have it. That's a surprising thing for me to see in the battle for the third place, and then this is what LaVille saw. He didn't really leave Giacometti a lot of room to work with there, did he?
No, there's not a lot of room there, and the move was pretty opportunistic as he got a run, and all of a sudden it turned into a 3-wide opportunity, kind of became a 4-wide opportunity as everyone got to the braking zone.
Yeah, he's on the curve.
Just ran out of room.
He can do there.
Just runs out of room.
So the battle remains, and it's a hotly contested one for about 15th on back. Giacometti, Altena, Marcamini, and LaVille all under a blanket. There goes Altena to the inside of Giacometti.
Good job. Easy pass to the inside. Gets that position. Now he can set sights on Eckert. Julian is pretty well versed at this racetrack. He won in the Formula Indy Series when in one of their season races here. That was in the IR18, but that was against some pretty stout competition. Now, it's a little bit of a different race. That was an IR18, and these are the IR05, the IR09 cars. So they handle and accelerate a little bit differently. And of course, you don't have the different tire compounds you have to worry about.
That's
Logan. Push the pass.
Logan Simmons losing the spot to Florian Gowd.
And Julian loses the spot to Giacometti. I think he smacked the wall coming off of 14 there.
Giacometti. Oh, boy.
Everybody overshot turn 1.
Right, so we'll have to kind of take a look at a bunch of stuff here that just went down. I think that is safe to say.
And Jan Hoffman's off right around turns 3 and 4.
Oh, that's going to be a slowdown for sure. He's going to be absolutely tumbling down the timing order. So let's start with Gowd. And that is that's a bit too far, I think.
Oh, nope. Boy. Into the kitty litter.
All right, we'll back this up here. So that was, this is Gowd making the move on Logan Simmons, and then just behind him is where everything really starts to kick off. Up wide, I do think he kept it out of the wall. Giacometti's got a much better run than he did. And then coming down towards turn 1 is where it all goes wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. That was, I don't know if he had to do a slowdown and give back a position or something. But that seemed like there was some sort of problem. That was too easy of a pass down the front straight without the use of the draft or the push to pass. And
there's Jan Hoffman going. So he went for a full-on spin there. And now Hoffman has had another issue as well as Rodriguez. So it keeps going.
And flashing.
Oh, that was, that was Jan Hoffman's incident right here. And then this was the problem with Rodriguez.
Yeah, under acceleration with these cars. Easy to do here. Remember, the low torque band with these cars, that's kind of what caused a lot of, we saw in the Winter Series, a lot of on restarts, spinning out, coming to the green flag. Same thing here, heavy acceleration coming out of these slow corners. The back end really wants to light up.
And there you see the battle between Stefan Mellis and Rafael Rodriguez. Meanwhile, further up the road, Andrew Wood, Logan Simmons, Jamie Wilson, all under a bit of a blanket here. So Simmons struggling to keep several cars behind him. Oh, into the wall, big is Jamie Wilson. And the Chimera car is out.
At the chicane, and you talked about it right in the pre-race during the parade lap. Right there, a lot of cars were having problems. You pop a curve, you missed the point of contact there. You pop a curve, and the car goes flying. Yeah.
Oh, boy. No chance to slow that down at all. Oh, and now Gowd's had a problem. Team Watson cars off the road. And Marcamini. It keeps going. Like, there's just no end to it.
You got to have your head on a swivel here. Where do I look next?
That was Gowd, and then seconds later, Marcamini. Just one corner behind him. And now the battle for 8th is close as Simmons forces Andrew Wood out wide.
I think Andrew's had enough of giving in turn 1, and he was going to do a little taking there. Now his front wing, at least in my feed, seems scuffed up, so he might have a little damage there, so he might be struggling. Whereas Logan might actually be a little bit faster.
Oh, boy!
Oh.
They cannot keep doing this, man. I mean, what a fight we are having this afternoon.
Andrew got, again, under acceleration, back in, got lights. His tires lit up, and then he had to get the position of Logan, so moved Logan up to 8th now.
And again, while that's going on, Julian Altena goes for a small slide. Takes to the grass, and he'll keep on keeping on. Matthias Marcamini, meanwhile, being pressured by Stefan Mellis. This here, a big battle for 21st on the racetrack. Might be down the field, but still valuable points on the line for these drivers.
You wouldn't think that everyone would care about every point, but every point matters, especially at the end of the season. You find out you're 1 or 2 points away from getting to that next position in the standings. Man, that's just 1 or 2 extra passes during the season that all you had to do is complete. So you want to go out there and keep turning laps as long as you're capable, your car is capable of doing it.
And here is Julian Altena along with Andrea Giacometti. A half-second scrap between them for 15th. Working lap 12 of 85 already. This race, it flies by when you have a lot going on. And look how many cars are still packed up, kind of nose to tail like this, deeper in the field.
Yeah, these are guys that are had a moment, one form or another. I know Julian has passed for position in this group of cars like 2 or 3 times already, and he keeps repassing them. But you know, he had that moment where he was under acceleration, went to the grass, had another moment, kind of get punted out of the way. So you just regain and try to, if you got the pace, you could run everybody back down. But now the tires are nice and hot. We still have pretty good track temperature out there, 113 degrees. So the tire dag is going to be, I would say, moderate to high. I've seen higher temps before. But this is an older tire model on these cars, so they, you know, these drivers maybe are not quite sure exactly what to expect there. We're about halfway through the pit cycle. I expect to see them probably start hitting pit road about 24, 25, 26, somewhere in there.
Willie Schwarbauer's been losing time to Ethan Egan pretty consistently the last several laps. We'll keep tabs on this fight, see if it increases at all. But meanwhile, a lot of blinking around going on here for the number 80 machine of Rafael Rodriguez. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe that flash we're seeing is starting to hold up these guys behind him, because I feel like Rob Barnicow and more, they got to have pace if they're this close at the tail end of it.
Yeah, nothing against Rafi and the blinking there, but it is a bit of an unfair advantage because when you start to approach the car and it disappears, especially if you get really close, you don't know where that car is going to reform, and it's you know, it's just like Star Trek, where you know, you have the transporter, and if you reform in something, you might become part of that something. Well, you don't want to reform inside of another car because that instantly creates a wreck. And so it is very distracting to the drivers behind, and it's kind of an unfair advantage for Rafi. And I know he's not doing it on purpose, and I know that he'll do everything to kind of make his performance better, or at least computer or internet-wise in future races. But the cars behind him, the drivers behind him, are not happy.
And I cannot blame them for it either. They're losing a lot of time, and they got to find a way to get around him and quickly. You saw Rob Barnicow was dropped all the way to the tail of this field. I think doesn't really want to have anything to do with what we're seeing out of the number 80 up the road. Big lock of a Franz Josef Stum just up the road. The ARX machine does keep it on the racetrack, but got a little bit dicey there for a minute. Meanwhile, Schwabauer and Agen still remain as well close in the battle for third.
These cars carry about 4 gallons more than the IR18. IR18 is right about 18 and a half, 18 and 3/4 gallons. These cars are right at 22 gallons.
Well, Matthias Marcomini has gotten around Rodriguez. Stefan Mellis might try to size one to do the same.
Yeah, I thought Rodriguez, I think, well, that's interesting. He's going to the end. He might not know he's blinking. I'm sure people are saying, man, you're blinking on the radio.
Well, remind me, do drivers have open comms available to them on the radio here?
Depends on the league. Sometimes the league will turn off the driver's channel. A lot of leagues that I've been in, that I've also broadcast as well, have the driver's channel open where some drivers can say, especially if you're a slower car, you know the leaders are coming, you can say, hey, leader, pass me to the inside. You can kind of coordinate some of that stuff. So it depends on the league.
Boy.
McBean sends it.
Well, case in point right there, Alexander McBean made what would have been a clean move. Then Rodriguez blinked in, and it was like right in front of him. So McBean had to stamp on the brakes to avoid running into him, and it nearly cost him a spot. Oh, Schwabauer's off the road. Third place going around.
Oh, he missed the chicane or something.
Not even. He's on the approach to the chicane. Didn't even get there. Oh, boy.
Oh, under acceleration, snap loose.
Huge tank slapper, and around he goes. Does keep it out of the wall at least. And Matthias Marcomini all of a sudden dropping away to the tail of the field. He's had an issue. Oh, that's in the final corner, around, and does back into the wall, but tell you what, great job to mitigate that damage. He could have lost the rear wing, and then your race is over.
There might be some unseen damage, so I'm not sure if he's going to be hitting pit road to get that looked at. It's still a little early for these guys to pit, otherwise they're looking at an extra stop at the end.
I'm not seeing any visible damage on the tail end of Marcomini's car. Not even any paint scuffs, so he may have gotten away with it. And if he did, he's a very lucky camper for sure. He doesn't seem to be affected by any kind of downforce problems, at least.
Not yet. There's always the unseen problem of maybe damage to the floor. That seems to always be the one that gets a lot of drivers. But we'll see if he's going to stay out. He feels good about it then if he's going to stay out.
I like it.
He's also down in 23rd in the order with Jamie Wilson already on pit road in 24. So he can't fall down anymore. So might as well run it out if especially you're close to making your pit stop. And I think we're probably about 7 to 10 laps away from making those pit stops.
Lucas Santos, in the meanwhile, with Willie Schwabauer right behind him. Schwabauer, of course, dropping out of the battle for the number 3 spot and is now looking to drive back around the number 19. Will he get him down to the turn 1? It might be a close run here. Lucas Santos really hugging that wall, and no dice for Schwabauer this time by.
Yeah, and remember, he needs to do this without the aids. I guess if you want to say IndyCar gimmicks, I hate saying that about IndyCar, but it's about the only gimmick IndyCar has, the push to pass. And he's doing that without the aid of push to pass. He needs to suck up at the draft there the old-fashioned way.
Marcomini with another problem on the racetrack as this time, a little bit of a spin. That's a very lazy slide, though. And now the question is, was that attributed to that hit to the wall earlier, or is that just overheated tires, perhaps?
Go back and take a look at that one. Maybe some of it's maybe a little bit of frustration going on, too.
With the tail of Santos, Schwabauer, will he close in this time around? Gap within 0.4 of a second. I don't think he's going to get there this time by. Try as he may, Schwabauer is struggling to find the pace and get back up to him.
you see the rotors lighten up as they enter the braking zone there. Remember, these cars originally constructed not to compete on road courses. These are a bit of pigs on these road courses. They were adapted to run on these road courses. A little bit later, 2005 was the first road course race ran by the Indy Racing League. That was at St. Petersburg, and then road courses appeared on the schedule on a regular basis. He tried to. He thought about it.
He thought, but he got denied. Marcamini has had another issue, and this one, I think, has spelled an end to his day. As he's going to loop it here. Spins down, and this time he can't. Oh, he broke the left rear. You saw the left rear suspension collapse there.
Hit that grass, and might as well just be hitting ice.
Sorry, he is not the only one. Florian Goud has also gone out of the race after this incident for the number 16. So we're dropping like flies here all of a sudden.
Oh, the death switch in the chicane. Good thing this is virtual racing.
Yeah, the chicane claims 2 victims. I think last year it claimed 4. And there's still a lot of race left, so plenty of time to...
A lot of race left.
Yeah, plenty of time for that number to increase. Adam Eckert being put under some pressure as well from behind. He's got a train of 4. Hoffman, LaVille, and Altena are all behind him.
And Julian, despite getting up in the order, making a mistake, falling back a couple spots, regaining them, another door. He gets a door check. They fall back again. I mean, he's still up 7 spots from where he started. So he's still your biggest gainer of the day, and he's looking like he has a little bit better pace than Lucas right now. I think he'll get around Lucas.
You saw as well Jan Hoffman make the look to the inside of Eckert and get by him into turn. Is that 6 or 7 there? Our numbers are hard for me sometimes.
That is 7 at the end of the Holman straight there. Yeah. Turn 7 is right behind if you were driving down turn 7 on the road course. You can walk it. You go visit the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That's the main access road down the middle of the Speedway. And during
here we go.
Practice,
Willie Schwabauer round the outside of Santos in 4.
In a hard spot, very hard spot. But this straight right here, you can walk on it when practice is open for the oval for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway here starting Monday. But right on the other side of the camera where this camera's panning from, you'll see on the left side there on the camera there on the broadcast, that's where the medical center is. And then right next to the medical center is the Hall of Fame Museum. I want to say brand new, newly renovated Hall of Fame Museum. Everybody should go check that out. Back last time I went to that place, the place was built in the 70s, and it still smelled like the 70s inside that place. It was so old. But this the new renovation they did, it's now an interactive experience, and it looks along something more like what you kind of expect from the NASCAR Hall of Fame, or kind of like an amusement park with a lot of hands-on attractions. So if you get a chance, check it out to visit the Hall of Fame Museum.
This is going to be the look on board with Willie Schwabauer as he made the move on Lucas Santos. Watch this here. This is now out of turn 3 into 4, round the outside. That is not an easy move to make in such a low-speed corner. Talk about textbook.
Oh, and Adam Eckert around at turn 1.
Eckert deep into the runoff area. Will drop a couple of spots, and looking like Julian Altena may have had a similar off right behind him. So 2 drivers having issues. And we'll see what happened. There's Eckert. He's got LaVille on the inside. Oh, got collected by Altena.
Giacometti got around Eckert going into 7. So Giacometti now up to 13th. And I think Julian's going to make another stab at Adam here coming into the short chute down on the south end of the racetrack.
By the way, credit to Altena on that one. Decided to redress, and instead of just going for the move, waited for Eckert to get going before leaving the accident himself, and Eckert going to go around again.
Eckert off, yeah, into the turn 1 infield area. That's the old side of the old snake pit.
Yeah, I think that is worth mentioning, right? Big props to Altena for the sportsmanship there to redress that and let him get going first.
Yeah, Julian's not in the championship hunt, just kind of showing up as a participant in his first race. So, you know, let the regulars go.
Oh boy, a little bit of a twitch there.
Oh, Adam Eckert long again in the 1, and that's a punch out. I think a little frustration going on there.
Didn't hit anything, it doesn't look like, so probably just driving into the runoff area and calling it quits from there.
Yeah. Jan Hoffman around Giacometti now in turn 7. Now he's into the S's, coming down into the turn 2 infield complex. He's now up to 12.
Well, a good race we're having this afternoon. I mean, this has been a good show that the Classic IndyCars has been putting on. A lot of drama, a lot of action early in this one, and you know, pit stop still a good distance away.
And this race is really kind of mirroring the experience that we had on Wednesday with the IIS. We had the top 3 that were kind of in a class by themselves, and then fierce battles in the mid-pack. I mean, a lot of 5-car, 6-car trains very early on. Then pit stops occurred, and it kind of stretched the field out a little bit. And then the middle part of the race, the later portions of the race, kind of got a little dry. But then it really became a battle to see who could stay on the lead lap, especially that late in the race. As a driver, there's 2 things you want to do. You want to finish the race, right? And because to finish first you must finish. And in order to finish first also, you need to finish on the lead lap. So there's a couple battles you got there. So the battle to stay on the lead lap and the battle to finish. And there's nothing more really defeating as late in the race you manage to keep your car on the lead lap through your own skill and strategy. And you know, handful of laps to go, here comes the leader around you, put your lap down, and you can see, you know, you're within view of the checker flag. It's like, oh, there's nothing more defeating as that. So a lot of these guys now, the goal is, they know they're not going to win this thing, is they really want to stay on the lead lap as this race ticks on.
Andrea Giacometti maintaining his momentum in 13th, along with Julian Altena right behind him. Altena thought about a look at turn 1 the last time by, opted against it. I don't think he'll be close enough to have another dive this time, but he does get. Oh, maybe he will have the look.
Deep. There he goes, and he goes. Good pass. Again, did that without the aid of push to pass. There are no push to pass mechanisms in this car, even though there was, in real life, there was a push to pass mechanism in this car, but there are no mechanisms in this car for push to pass in this sim. And as I like to say, to pass people here in the IR05 or the IR09, depending on what you want to call it, you must do it just like Smith Barney did, and to earn money the old-fashioned way. Well, you need to pass the old-fashioned way here. You got to earn it.
Joe and iRacing IndyCars are not the only drivers. Oh, hello. I'll get back to that in a moment. We cut away from Giacometti, and the second we do, of course, he actually has a slide and goes off the road. Whoops.
Yeah, under acceleration. Yep.
Keeps it out of the wall.
Almost ends up where Mark Amini ended up.
Hey, did you know that, you know, IndyCars, you know, with the IR05, DW12, and IR10, they are not the only cars with push to pass on them on iRacing for open wheelers. The Formula 3.5 actually has them as well.
And I think, maybe the Formula 1 car does?
No, they have overtake mode, which is like ERS. Ooh,
yeah,
Andrew Wood with a step out. Gathers it up though. Yeah, so
getting snappy.
Yeah,
close to those pit stops.
The F1 cars have like DRS and ERS abilities. They don't have a full-on push to pass mode. I know like there's a hybrid boost that cars like the Audi R18.
Some of the hypercars also might have had something as well.
I'm trying to think of one more. Do the Super Formula cars have them as well? Or do they all have DRS?
I should know that one, and I don't know that one. I really stay in I stay in the IndyCar lane as much as I can.
Problems for Jamie Wilson. Oh, sorry, no, this was earlier on. So Wilson. Sorry, my apologies.
He had a big off there in the chicane. He's probably still in the session, maybe helping out his teammate Andrew Wood, who's in 9th.
Ah, that would make sense, yeah. Rob Barnicow trying to stay out in front of Franz Josef Stooms, about 2 seconds behind him. Right now, the closest battle between Alexander McBean and Andrea Giacometti.
Oh, we got a pit stop happening here. Barnicow hitting pit road. This is a scheduled stop for him at lap 28.
Interesting. I didn't think we'd be getting pit stops this early, but fair enough. I guess we're on lap 28, aren't we? Boy, time has flown by.
They're ticking away. Just like the real IndyCar race that was here on Saturday. No cautions yet. I think they got their first caution since St. Pete on the Saturday race. By that point, I already fell asleep. I've had a long weekend, folks. I had an IndyCar 500-miler go caution-free at Indianapolis for the Elite Racing League's Warriors for Peace IndyCar Series and their ERL 500, Indy 500 on Thursday. Then we had the top split broadcast Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. That went to midnight. Before that, we had the IIS here at Indianapolis for 85 laps. So at the end of 2 days with that number of broadcasts, all 100% full-length races, from a broadcaster point of view, my voice was spent and I was tired.
I don't blame you. I mean, it's that's my reaction when that was my reaction last week. I was at the local track. It was round 3 of our ET series weekend, and the racing got wrapped up a lot quicker than expected because the field count's not too big yet, right? It's still early in the season, no special classes, just our usual track classes out there. And I got home in time for the ASRL race that night. I'm thinking, well, I've been talking for about 6-7 hours already, straight on. What's 2 more, right?
Jan Hoffman hitting pit road, scheduled stop for him. Also behind him, someone else on pit road. That is the leader, Mustanen, coming in on lap 29, coming to 30 for him.
Interesting. So pit stops very much underway as of now.
So really what he's going to do, this is a 2-stop. He's on a 2-stop strategy. He's going to go 30-60 home. That's what he's going to do. And that last stop's going to be kind of a shorter fill because the third stop, instead of fueling for another 30 laps, he just needs the fuel for 25.
And Cesare Manzano also in from within the top 5. And I think he just had the wrong pit stall there for a minute as you saw him fading towards the boxes before ducking back out.
And there he goes, hits his spot. And he's right on the line there. But that is a strategy a lot of these drivers use to help cut down on pit road time, is they will cut it close as possible to being out of the box.
Hey, if it works.
Yeah. We got Cameron Dance on pit road, and he is stuck behind slower traffic, and this is not going to help him. He very much wants around Stefan Mellis. I think that's who's in front of him. No, that's the 38.
Well, the good news for him right now is... The good news for him right now is the fact that they are on the pit limiter, so he's not losing any time behind Giacometti right now.
No, but he was losing time coming all the way up to the cone.
He was about 8 seconds behind Mustanen when Mustanen came down into pit road. So let's watch this here to see what the time's going to be on exit. Mustanen is already on the front straightaway. And Mooston already to the lead. Holy cow.
Yeah.
He lost a lot more time than I thought.
Yeah, he lost a lot of time there.
And he had a shorter pit stop, too.
Yes, and remember the general rule of thumb in these cars, even on a road course, it's about a football field a second, give or take. It's going to be a little less on a road course, a little bit more on an oval, but that's about the general rule of thumb. And that's going to stretch his lead out. Right now, we have the leader is Wood, who still needs to stop. But Dance now is back 11 seconds.
Jeez. You can be caught out easily by stuff like that. And now, Dance back by 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, that's to the lead. 11 seconds to Mooston.
Yep.
So he lost 3 seconds being caught behind Giacometti there.
Just that little bit coming to the cone there. You could go as fast as you want all the way to the cone. Then you got to be on the limiter, and then, well, you don't have to be on the limiter, but these guys will use the limiter. But you have to be to the speed limit by the cone, right? And if you go past that, you're given a little bit of leeway. But if you push it too far past that, then you'll get the old black flag for the drive-through or the 40-second hold, depending if you're coming or going off the pit.
Wood and Altena are in for their scheduled stops, leaving just Lucas LaVille, Alexander McBean, and Stefan Mellis. You see Kinder pulling to the side, allowing Willie Schwabauer through into what will end up being 6th place. Curious on why Kinder moved over to the side, just not wanted to fight it out, I guess.
Kinder hit it on lap 31, so he is 1 lap. He's got new tires, and Willie hit it on the same lap with the same type of tires on. So maybe Seb just, he's on a different pace now or something.
And this now the lone car that we are still waiting on to come down pit road. And he is in this time.
Here he comes. Very difficult pit road, very narrow here, and of course if you clip the grass, that doesn't, links out.
Whoops.
And then,
there we go.
And then if you take it too fast, you could push out, and there's a concrete wall there. So it's a very narrow and difficult pit entry.
And there's the race out of pit road between Andrew Aitken and Alexander McBean. That's the battle for 14th. That is going to be a hotly contested fight now between the pair of them.
Yeah, the last race, McBean was having a bit of a rough day. Seems to have a better handle on things today. He's up 7 spots, looking good. He is now in the top 15.
Right now, half a second back to Andrew Aitken, and he did get the undercut, so I'm curious to see how the tires are going to fare for him. So we're back into the infield section. And looking for the front straightaway.
That is the old side of the original snake pit. If you have heard any stories about the snake pit at Indianapolis.
It's the first time I've heard it called a snake pit. Fill me in.
The snake pit. Okay, that is the party section of the racetrack. The old party section. That's where back, especially in the 70s and 80s, that's where you showed up for the race, but you necessarily weren't watching the race down there, if you know what I mean.
Gotcha. So it's basically for the type of atmosphere that you would normally get for something like the Bathurst 12 Hours, the Bathurst 1000, or the Nürburgring 24, Le Mans 24, stuff like that. Okay, fair enough.
Very much party atmosphere. Yeah, and I'm putting things lightly. I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff that went on down there. Here's McBean to the inside of Aiken. He sends it, and it's going to go wide into the grass.
Yeah.
He wisely pieces it back on the racetrack.
He was like, what, 6-7 tenths back there? No way that was going to work.
Almost. I mean, he just got those side tires right there, just dipping off the edge there. Hold on a little bit longer. He could have been on all pavement and just, took it out to the very limit. But lost a big position there, yeah. And he lost an additional position there to, who's ahead of him? Well, that's just track position. That's Ethan Hagen. guess one of the leaders was around him too. I'm sure Ethan did not want to see that.
Whoops. And a potential issue for Andrew Aitken, the driver that just got back around him, who's dropped several spots. Ooh. Bit of a lockup, takes to the runoff area. They used that portion of the circuit as well back at 14, did they not?
That, I believe, is the for the motorcycle race that used to be.
Ah, okay. Gotcha. Of course, the motorcycle race is weird because they run
MotoGP.
Yeah, well, and they ran the opposite direction to the traditional layout, which is
and actually one of the configurations that you can actually race on with iRacing, any car you want, is that configuration. It's the Indy bike configuration, and you could run the road course in the opposite direction.
And you can do that on the older scan of this track as well.
Yes.
Which I want to know, why did MotoGP run it the other way? It doesn't make. I mean, the original way is perfectly fine as it is.
I don't pay enough to MotoGP to understand why they did that. I'm sure it's just maybe to be different or for maybe a safety reason. I don't know. But the portion that you're seeing at the far end of the front straight, which is actually oval turn 1, that's actually would be bike course turn 1. Just before the turn 1 entry on the oval. Okay,
so they ran they ran it. This is, of course, from Google AI. He's over AI over there, so take this with a grain of salt. But according to this, they did it to create a new and more challenging layout specifically for motorcycles while bypassing the banked oval corners.
Okay, yep, that makes sense.
Here goes Giacometti right to the back of Schwarbauer, and I thought for sure Schwarbauer was about to be taken out.
There was another style of racing that was held here that used the road course that a lot of people don't think about, and that was the Red Bull Air Races used the Speedway for a round of their championship. I don't think they're still doing it. We're watching this battle between McBean and Giacometti here. But they would use the backstretch, the Holman Straight there, as a place where they would land the planes.
Huh, there you go. I mean, it is a big, long straight. It's definitely long enough.
Oh, yeah.
Just watch for the catch fencing leading in.
Yeah. And those planes are like super lightweight and everything. So when they land and they start to brake, they come to a pretty quick stop, but they don't need a lot of room. But yeah, they were using the backstretch for the runway, and I thought that was pretty cool. And actually, the very first race held at the Speedway in its history was a blimp race. It was actually it was a hot air balloon race, I believe. So the very first race here was and by the way, that bridge they take down for the on the backstretch.
I'd hope
that pedestrian bridge. Yeah, they take that. That's temporary. But the very first race here was a balloon race back in 1909. So the very first race wasn't even a car race here.
Lucas Santos has dropped back to 7th and back to 8th. Got the old pickup of oversteer on the exit. No harm, no foul though. Loses one spot, but keeps it up and rolling. I want to point out that I get that you would. I get that sometimes they want to like MotoGP would want to bypass those bank corners. I'd imagine probably for safety grounds, right? And fair enough.
Yeah.
The motorbike guys that race the Daytona road course complete with the oval are calling them amateurs right now. I don't know if you've seen that type of racing.
Yeah,
it is
I have.
Mental. So you could not pay me to do that. That looks so sketchy. And I've seen what happens as well when they wreck up there. It is, it's not a sight I'm eager to see repeated.
The only thing I can think of is maybe the angle of attack to the wall is a little bit more extreme that you see at Daytona. It's going to be more of a direct shot to the wall, whereas maybe at Daytona it's more of a, I'm sure it's going to hurt all the same. More of a glancing blow. I don't know. I really don't know.
I mean, all you're right, though. Like, it is a much more acute angle that you go into these corners at Daytona. I mean, heck, stock cars, right? They're braking for Indy's turns. They're not braking at Daytona at all.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right there. And I think a little bit of bad press kind of still exists racing through turn one since the ill-fated U.S. Grand Prix race here that started with only 6 cars. Yeah, because Michelin did not do their homework, whereas Bridgestone did, because Bridgestone also owns Firestone, and Firestone supplies tires to the Indy Racing League at that time, and so they had telemetry data from the Indycars running that turn one portion of the oval, so they knew how to make the tires for Formula One. Michelin, on the other hand, didn't. They didn't. So they just kind of took a best stab at it, and it was a bad stab. And they wanted to change like the configuration. They actually wanted to put a chicane in the short chute area, if my understanding right, kind of right in the general neighborhood of where they have the chicane now. And FIA's like, no. And I kind of, most people don't stand with FIA very much. They're like, man, they're stupid. I hate their rules. So I actually kind of stand with them on that one.
I can kind of agree with it as well, right? Like, I mean, but again, it's not like there was a lack of trying. Like, there were efforts to figure out a solution to that incident. Like, and I mean, heck, I mean, the FIA solution was much better. The FIA was basically saying, just slow down to the final quarter. And everybody was like, well, you're waiting for something bad to happen, and you got cars running like 30, 40 miles an hour slower through a high-speed, flat-out corner than everyone else. That's not going to be any better, is it? So it's one of those things where it's like there really wasn't a good solution to it, and everybody was kind of digging their heels in, and it resulted in the walkout that we saw. It didn't. I think it was CART. What didn't CART offer? The Grand Prix ticket holders free entry to the Cleveland race if they had proof of their ticket stub for that race.
Yeah.
I'm sure they made a healthy penny off of that.
And that was in the middle of the CART Indy. Lucas, watching it get a little loose there, but that was in the middle of the CART IRL split and war. Yeah. And they did do that. They're like, hey, why don't you guys take the 5 or 6 hour trip to Cleveland? And everyone liked the Burke Lakefront Airport road course. Everyone still talks about it to this day. And the thing is, though, I don't know if it was for a discount or for a free ticket.
I think it was free, from what I remember.
Okay, the CART wasn't making much money on that, and that's typically that is the typical story of CART. Good ideas, just not making a lot of money off it.
Well, and I mean, I'm sure they made quite a bit of money in extra sales from souvenirs that week, and I'm sure they made a pretty penny off it. I told you. We've been watching this battle develop for the last few laps. This is McPhee and Giacometti and Mellis all under a blanket here.
Yeah, and then we have another car involved there at the very back that I think is, Mellis, who's not necessarily involved, but in the neighborhood.
And it's Schwabauer, that's a lead lap car trying to fight his way through this.
This is very frustrating for him.
But hey, they're in a race. It's for points. Schwabauer's not racing anything. Yep. You got to let them race. They're entitled to the racetrack just as much as the lead lap cars are.
And on the lead lap right now, 10 cars. Johnny Garrett's the last car on the lead lap. So this is kind of developing much the same way the Wednesday race in the IR18 and the IIS did. It's just as we click through this race, more and more are going down a lap. And pretty soon at the end here, I really think it's going to be Mustanen, Dance, and Egan who are going to be on the lead lap now. Which order they're going to finish, we yet to be seen. But I think we're only going to finish up with about 3 cars on the lead lap.
Not too unlike what we saw at Interlagos 3 weeks ago. I think it was only 3 or 4 cars finishing on the lead lap in that race as well.
So there we see Giacometti, I think, pull over a little bit there for Willie. So Willie gets on by. One less car that he has to pass now.
Santos is steadily closing in on Logan Simmons, I do believe. We'll compare the three.
Right there.
Yeah, we'll compare the 3 laps here between the two, and holy cow, half a second just the last lap alone. Santos is right there now, looking for the outside, trying to go around him into turn number 7 here.
If he can stay right where he is, he's going to have...
Oh, that's a risky move, but Simmons makes it work, forces the issue. Santos back to the inside, not able to secure, though. And Simmons drags around him. How much are you willing to bet
Santos,
that?
Go
Oh,
ahead,
there he goes again. How much are you willing to bet that Simmons got really held up there by a blinking Rodriguez?
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. I thought Santos was going to be in a position of squiggly there under acceleration, which is pretty typical of these cars. I thought Santos was going to be in position because the next turn was a right-hander, and he had position for that turn. But I think everyone kind of flinched when they came around the corner and saw right in the area that they want to start attacking is Rodriguez. And I'm not going to fault Rodriguez there because you're just in a part of the racetrack where it's, I always say it's tough to hide. There's not a place where you can necessarily pull over that's very easy, short of you getting off the racetrack. And then if you get off the racetrack, then that's another X on you. And there is an incident limit here for these cars. So, you know, an X on him might be a drive-through the next time, or I don't know, you know. So he doesn't necessarily want to drive off there. There's just no place to hide here. So it's just unfortunate that everyone kind of met right there.
On board is Giacometti as he continues to try to put pressure on Alexander McBean up the road. The battle for 14th for those three cars has closed in again. And all this while we have now worked our way past the halfway point for the Paper Recycling Systems Grand Prix at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, he wanted to set it in there, go into one. He took a peek. It's going to be a late dive in these cars. Again, no push to pass. So in case you're wondering what push to pass for these cars was when they did have it, they actually had it on ovals too.
Oh boy, that sounds exciting.
And it was basically just an engine.
Sorry to cut you off. Stephen Mellis has just gone around.
Yep, he caught it under acceleration there.
Well, there goes one car in the three-way fight.
He's trying to let people by, and then he catches the. Yep.
It's easy to do.
Very easy to do. So the push to pass for these cars, it was an engine map tweak that basically, for a period of a couple seconds, took the car up to the next highest engine map. But it's an engine map that you couldn't actually manually switch to in the car on a permanent basis. So it just went to the extra higher map through a timing mechanism. And then after that timing mechanism was done, it would return back down to the lower map. So that was the push to pass in these cars. Not highly technical, not like it is today. Ooh, he's going to lead the side. There it is, late braking. And that's how you have to do it in these cars. These do not brake very easily.
Hey, he did it cleanly. No contact or anything, so fair play.
Good job. Good job. As soon as he passed him, he's pulling away immediately. And then here comes Seb. Seb's going around McBean as well.
Smashing Kinder, of course, the Frenchman. Just trying to work his way up and around as well. Well, Logan Simmons is now losing more time than Andrew Wood, and starting to wonder if maybe Simmons has got a problem because his pace has just dropped off these last few laps.
Or just Andrew's picked it up.
Well, Santos as well kind of caught him real quick as well.
Yeah. Last time by was a 113.6 for Logan. And Andrew was a 113.2. So, yeah, Andrew is catching him. I think if you ask Logan what his preference is, there he is taking a shot to the inside to try to protect. Wood's going to go on the outside the long way. No.
Ooh, contact though between the two as Simmons forces him off the track.
He's got to be hating turn one. Every time he tries to take a stab at someone at turn one, they're side checking him.
Andrew Wood gonna try again.
I think Logan might be letting him have it here.
Yeah. I think maybe that's a bit of a, hey, my bad for turn one. How do you do there?
I think if you ask Logan what he prefers, ovals or road courses, I think he'll tell you he prefers ovals, but I don't think his roadcraft is that bad. I mean, he's in the top 10 right now. And I know that he obviously won the race earlier this season at Motegi, and he's probably looking forward to more ovals. We finally got an oval coming up, I think, at our next race. But I think he just wants to use these road course races to kind of maintain position and not really make a free fall through the standings. He just kind of a little bit drive to survive. But he's doing pretty good today. He's top 10. Oh, he's thought about sending it there.
You saw Wood go defensive and Simmons tried to snake across the track to pull into the draft, but Wood did a good job on breaking that toe, and that kept Simmons behind him for at least one more series of corners. Kind of hopping up onto the curb. Gotta be careful with that, though. It can catch you out. It can catch anybody out.
You know, it's interesting enough, just to mention here that we're kind of at the halfway point. We've had three official races. This is the fourth official win. We had two kind of preseason races. In every race this season, we've had even including the preseason races, we've had a different winner. Right now, the way it's going for Thomas, not to jinx him or anything, but his domination has been pretty complete in this race so far up to this point. He would be our first repeat winner of the season right now.
No kidding.
Yeah.
How about that? So Wood gonna keep on with his battle here against Simmons. This time both drivers end up locking it up into turn one that time by. They are really, they're trying for it, aren't they?
It's the closest battle on the racetrack. Just about everyone else is kind of spread out by a pretty considerable margin. But I think Logan is leaning on his brakes to keep him in contention. Look at his late brake, look at it so close.
Grief.
I think Wood is braking and making things a little bit easier on his brakes and his tires. Of course, if you don't generate as much heat in those rotors, that doesn't transfer to the tires, so he's making things easier on his tires by keeping the heat down in there. Whereas Logan, late braking, is going to be a lot of buildup of heat there.
You see the pairs starting to get close again as they'll work their way back down towards turn number one. This next time by, Simmons just barely within view. No dice this time around, not into turn number one, as Andrew Wood will continue to pull him clear. Julian Altena is into pit road. And that's a crash. Yep. Altena's out. Ooh. Big problems for Julian Altena. How much you want to bet turn 5? Yep, that's exactly what it's going to be here. Oh, caught the curb on the way in. High speed off and hard into the wall and nearly over.
Yeah, side impact there.
Watch this again. Slows down, really kind of give you a chance to see where this goes wrong. Right there, you see him hop over and just never recovered it.
That unloaded the car.
Then slam into the fence. Nose almost digs in, up on 2 wheels, and that'll spell an end to your afternoon.
While you're watching that, Logan got really close a couple of times in braking zones, and I think he had to overbrake a couple of corners, and is causing him to kind of fall back a little bit, but now he's closing back up.
35 laps to go this afternoon.
So how many victims is that now for the chicane?
3. Only 3, shockingly enough.
Only 3 so far. Okay, 2 more actually, to be nice.
So let's say, okay, well, let's put it this way. We're at 4 if you count Lucas Santos, but Santos is critically still in the race. So are we counting just in general or cars that are DNFs now?
I think if the chicane needs to reach ace status, it needs to be a retiree.
I agree with that. Okay, so yes, then we're at 3.
All right, 2 to go to be ace.
And once again, the Turn 5 chicane will win by doing absolutely nothing.
Leading the scene, yeah. And it's just not what you're seeing unique to these cars in the sim. That is universally a point of contention in IndyCar races and when the stock cars used to run the road course. They had all sorts of problems there. When the stock cars ran there, they used to hit those. They pulled the curbs up. They hit those curbs so hard.
Yeah, they pulled the whole curbing up, and it happened a few times throughout the course of the first race here. I don't remember if that was in the Cup Series or the Xfinity Series. I know Joey Logano took a vicious hit into the Turn 5 wall that somehow every single camera angle mixed. Thank you, Fox Sports, for that one. Of course, it's one of those things, right? I mean, those walls, they seem a long way away, but when you go spearing off at a corner like that, they're not nearly as far away as you think they are.
I think the Xfinity Series kind of started it, and I think the Cup Series finished the corner off. It's what happened.
Fair enough. Well, we got a bit of time here as no battle is terribly close to the racetrack. So, we'll give a shout out to the folks that helped to get the lights on here for the Classic IndyCar Series. Founded in 1989, Pavement Recycling Systems first provided cold milling services to the Southern California market. Now, PRS has subsequently grown into the premier general engineering subcontractor for cold milling, soil stabilization, roller compacted concrete, and cold-in-place asphalt recycling in California and Nevada, with the presence as well in Utah, Oregon, and Washington. In 2007, PRS added the highly regarded pavement preservation company Pavement Coatings, PCC, and of course adding pavement preservation services throughout California and specializing in the use of RAP aggregates via their reclaimed aggregates division. Both PRS and PCC are owned by PRS Holdings Incorporated and are proud to be 100% employee-owned. For more, visit pavementrecycling.com. Just over 30 laps to go in racing action here this afternoon. We're going to take ourselves with a quick step back. When we return, it's more racing action on Green Flag TV. Stay with us.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV. My name is Ola Rembo alongside Gary Godso, bringing you all of racing action for the Paper Recycling Systems Grand Prix from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Johnny Garrett and Franz Josef Stum have both had issues while we were away. This was Johnny Garrett going for a slide out of turn 14. And then this was what happened to Stum just a few moments after that.
A lazy spin there, hitting the curbs. Luckily no traffic was coming, gets out of the way. But
so that spin has put Johnny Garrett now into the clutches of both Luke Laville and Jan Hoffman. The battle for 11th between Vortex Sim Racing teammates. They close in on Johnny Garrett. We are also expecting pit stops to be coming on up within the next 5 to 10 laps or so.
yeah, I think less than that. Mustanen pitted at 30. That was 30 to go, 30 laps ago. We're at 30 to go now. So I suspect that he will come around next time, make that dive down, unless he wants to go a little bit deeper into this run. Don't think he, to be honest, I don't know if he can or not.
On board with Laville, looking like he wants to have a look for the inside of the Aero X number 68. Thinks better of it, though. Probably wouldn't have been able to make that move work into turn 6, but certainly not a bit far away. Robert Barnacow, the first one in the pit road for scheduled pit stops for the second time.
Houston did not come in, so he's saved a little bit. With the big lead, I guess you can lift a little bit
Hoffman's
earlier
in
and save a little bit of fuel. This will be his final stop.
So Hoffman's trying to undercut the two cars in front of him here.
He pitted last on, let's see, and came in at lap 28. Now it's 27 laps into his stint here. It's about right on schedule. Maybe 1 lap here to try and undercut.
Under 28 laps to go. Oh, a lot of smoke and a potential problem for Rafael Rodriguez. Turn 5. Yep, went for a slide, but kept it under the wall.
That is not a victim. Not a victim.
Hard to tell exactly what caused that, obviously, because of the blinking that he's been having, but I'm willing to bet probably just got the death twitch on the way in.
Yeah. Easy, very easy to do.
Yeah, Hoffman out just in front of race leader Thomas Mustonen. Lucas Laville continues to apply pressure to Johnny Garrett, who is now being held up by lap traffic.
So both Garrett and Laville, this is a battle for position. This is for 10th. Get around Rafi there. And now they can attack each other directly.
Garrett and Laville, of course, the
Leader, pit road.
the most hotly contested battle on the racetrack right now, and there is Mustonen attacking pit entry, making sure he loses as little time as possible. He was put under some heavy fire at Interlagos just a week ago, or not a week ago, 1 race ago, because of a poorly executed pit stop strategy. Of course, Cameron Dance did not take the win because he got held up by lap traffic, and I think he had to go evasive for an incident, if I'm remembering correctly, but
Yeah.
Dance retained, though, in that race, that had he not been caught by that traffic, he might have gotten to him. He genuinely thought, you know, I would have gotten him. He was adamant in that fact when we talked to him post-race. He was disappointed, but he still congratulated Mustonen on that drive. But yeah, he was confident in his abilities, and I think he had the pace of Philip Otto to back his claims up.
Yeah, he probably was looking at the math, and the math was saying that it's going to be that way, and if you keep everything perfect for the remainder of the race, and then at that point in the race, there was not much gray area. You know, everything had to be perfect at that point because there's so few laps left. And, you know, car kind of spins out in front of him in a blind corner where he may or may not have been looking as he comes around the corner. Whoa, there's a car sideways. He had to take evasive action, and after that, he wasn't able to get any closer to the lead than at that point. So sometimes the racing gods giveth, sometimes the racing gods taketh away. I'm sure at some point Cameron will get one back, but on the case of Interlagos, the gods said not today.
Ooh, Johnny Gare, a bit of a slip on entry. And that's a real aggressive pit entry line, but does not. He doesn't catch it. I thought for sure he might have it there, but nope. He does not catch a black flag, so all's well ends well. Andrew Wood now trying to apply some pressure to Lucas Santos just up the road. Cameron Dance as well is into the pits.
Yeah, Cameron, and actually Cameron's going to lead the lap officially, so if there was any hope for Thomas to get the Grand Slam, remember Thomas started from the pole. He has led almost all laps now except that one, so he can't get the Grand Slam. Has the fastest lap at the moment, and if he wins the race, remember the Grand Slam and racing, and although it's really not tracked for IndyCar, it is still kind of an accomplished nevertheless. Is pole, win the race, lead all the laps, and have the fastest lap. That is the Grand Slam in racing, and you see it typically on the Formula One side of things, but occasionally you do see it happen at IndyCar. It's only happened a handful of times in IndyCar history here recently. We had it happen on the Friday top split race here for the IAS. Actually, the eventual Indy Fixed 500 champion on the iRacing broadcast, Peter Berryman, got the Grand Slam here. But it looks like Thomas might come up a little short on the Grand Slam. He might only have 3 of the 4 after the day.
See several cars at a pit road for their final stops of the afternoon before we will be up and working for just the tail of the race. Logan Simmons now has Ethan Hagen to pressure him. Of course, Simmons has not come down to pit road yet, nor has Lucas Santos ahead of him. Currently runs in 3rd. And I think this is a bit of a match here between Santos and Simmons as to who will blink first. Of course, 9 seconds between them, but that's a gap that can still be run down to the back 25 laps of a race. And Simmons is in. And Santos, they're both in.
Last stop for both these guys. Painfully slow pit road speed limit here. Painfully slow. 40 miles an hour.
It does feel abnormally slow for a road course, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And it's an extraordinarily long pit road. Indy cars don't really race on pit roads much longer than what they do at Indianapolis and Road America. Those are the 2 typical longest ones. The pit road speed limit at Road America, as a matter of fact, is a 2-stage pit road speed limiter. It's a faster and then a slower one when you get to another set of cones. In real life, that's how long that one is. That is not mimicked here in the sim. I would like to see it one day, but not anytime soon.
So Simmons out and away.
Santos pops out right in front of Wood and Simmons. Or actually Wood and, nope, that's Rodriguez. Sorry, I thought that might have been Simmons. But Santos and Wood, immediate battle forming.
Cameron Dance, fastest lap of the race as well. 1:11.5. Eclipses Moosenen's time while Wood gets around Santos.
And not too far in front of that, behind that Wood and Santos. Well, I'm about to get ready to say that's the leader right behind him.
Going to rejoin the circuit, bring on some debris in the process, and Simmons now 2.2 behind. Santos still hanging on to 9th. Critically, LaVille still has to come down to pit road, so Santos should still be a net P8 at the end of this.
I think Thomas even lengthened his lead. I think he's out to 18 seconds now.
He is, yes. Got the undercut going. Man, Indianapolis is moosed in its track, and I believe he dominated this track last season as well when we were out to party here.
A lot of drivers get a lot of time on this track because There's a lot of leagues and official racing that occurs here on this configuration. You see it in the real Indy cars on the IR18. You see it with stock cars. Maybe at some point, I think they're now mimicking the schedule going back to the oval. Sports cars here quite a bit. So yeah, this is used quite a bit. And then if you're typically participating in an IndyCar league, most every time if there's an Indianapolis 500 or 250 on your league schedule, normally the preceding race before that is at the Indy GP, where it typically is on the real IndyCar calendar today.
Speaking of calendars, we can kind of talk a little bit more about what's coming on up here for the Classic IndyCar Series. We get back to the ovals finally. Yes, sir, and that will be coming on up 3 weeks. First day of June, first race of June on Green Flag TV, the Milwaukee Mile. We were at New Hampshire last season, and if you watched the New Hampshire race, Gary, you'll know about the absolutely monster crash that Johnny Garrett had flying into the turn 4 catch fence, where Jan Hoffman somehow squeaked through maybe less than an inch between himself and that flying car with no damage. One of the most impressive record avoidances of the year. The Milwaukee Mile, sometimes considered the sister track to New Hampshire. I resent that. They're both a mile long. That's where the similarities end. Milwaukee has less banking. The turns are a much wider radius. The turns are not to perfection like New Hampshire's are.
Wood off in front of the leader. Sorry. Wood went off in front of the leader. Leader went by. He's clear. That puts Wood a lap down. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a 1 mile oval, and that's where the comparisons stop there. New Hampshire is a bit more of a paperclip shape, and so it's going to have tighter corners, longer straights, whereas Milwaukee, sweeping corners, shorter straights. So, okay? Tighter corners, longer straights, New Hampshire. Shorter straights, sweeping corners, Milwaukee. Also, Milwaukee has a very difficult pit on and pit out road that you need to be careful on. But traditionally, it has hosted the second most ever IndyCar races in history, only behind the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is one of the oldest tracks on the entire world in terms of a motorsport racing track. It's one of the oldest tracks in the entire world.
If anything, you could call New Hampshire the big brother to Martinsville Speedway. It shares more similarities with Martinsville.
I would give it that. Yeah.
Yeah. It shares more similarities with Martinsville than it does Milwaukee, that's for sure.
Yeah, I would give it that.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm slightly worried for Milwaukee. Now, this, of course, comes from the stock car side of me, because the last several stock car races we have there, they have not been pretty sights. All of them caution-filled, lots of attrition, and much harder to recover from attrition in Indy cars than it is in stock car racing. Willis Schwabauer to the inside of Cesare Manzato. That was the move for 4th.
Yeah, good pass there going into turn 7. Yeah, what we're going to see here, if it's going to be anything like the DW12s when it races there, or the IR18s, is we might see a high line develop, and everyone's going to be ripping the top. And then when you try to go down to the low line, you have a very limited window to get the pass done on the low line before your right rear really gets hot. And as you come off one of the corners, whether 2 or 4, the back end just kind of comes around. So you've got to really stay up in that high line and make your passes very strategically. At least that's what we've seen in the IR18 and the DW12s. How will these be different? We'll see. Of course, this is open setup. These guys might be able to tweak it a little bit more. Maybe they can go down to the bottom to the lower line. But lately, IndyCar races have been up in the high line at Milwaukee.
Milwaukee going to be a very interesting race. And, of course, 2 weeks after that, we go to the brand new Portland International Raceway. Portland having, of course, its Green Flag TV debut with the Beer League with a absolutely dramatic finish, entering the final couple of corners, entering turn 10 of the racetrack. Henry Morse trying to push Alexander Buehler clear for the win around Alex Cofford. Morse ended up ran him over. All 3 cars crashed into the final corner. Buehler got away, got a slow down for cutting across the grass, giving the win back to Alex Cofford when he drove around him out of the final corner of the front straightaway. Of course, I don't expect the finish in CIS to be as dramatic, but Going to be a good ride indeed. And then it's the Richmond Raceway to be the last race before the summer break. And, well, they called it the action track for a reason. The next
short oval. These cars actually did race there in real life, so that we'll actually have a barometer to measure from and actual real numbers to compare what these guys take to Richmond.
Of course, the Milwaukee Mile and Richmond Raceway both going to be using the high downforce road course package. Oh, hold on. Logan Simmons with a black flag. And with him having spun around, that is going to be for an incident limit.
I think that's incident limit, yeah.
Oh, boy. First driver to hit that this race.
That is a drive-through, I believe.
Well, that's something that Lucas Santos, I'm sure, is not complaining about. Oh, boy, kind of rejoined right in front of camera and dance as well. That should give spots to Lucas LaVille and might give spots to Johnny Garrett, potentially Jan Hoffman as well. So we'll watch this. LaVille's already by him. And off the corner, here comes Johnny Garrett for a spot. And Jan Hoffman going to get around him as well, so that's going to drop Simmons out of the top 10.
This is painful. This is painful.
You know, this slow pit road often makes me think about Dover Motor Speedway's pit road. That is another track. Extremely slow.
30 miles an hour, and I believe that's the case for anything that races there. He's going in. He's going to stop.
That's not going to get rid of the black flag. You can't take service on the drive-through.
I think he is going to call it there.
Is he out? Is he out of the car?
Yes, he's out of the car.
That'll do it. Okay, fair enough. Well, that's a shame. Big shame.
So when Indycar, and every now and then in the official Indycar series, the Oval Series, it will visit Dover. Their laps there are over 200 miles an hour. The IR-18.
You gotta slow down to like, what, 45?
I think it's 30, 35 on pit road.
30?
Because I think it's like that for everybody. And it's really slow. And you could go down as many as 4 laps if you hit pit road when the IndyCar does go there. It's always an interesting race when the IndyCars go to Dover. But you're right. That is. I wish there was like a sliding bar that you could say when you're setting up the session. What would you like your pit road speed limit to be? You could, like, for like an old school race, like for the 87 stock cars, like turn it off, right?
Oh, Johnny Garrett with a black flag now as well. Same thing.
And same thing. But you can't do that. You can't do it. There's not a graduated scale on how to set your pit road speed limit. It's one size fits all.
And for reference, for those that might be unfamiliar, 35 miles an hour is only about 5 miles an hour up for the pit road speed limit at Martinsville, a track half the size of Dover, which is wildly disproportionate. I have no idea why NASCAR has the pit road speed that way. I genuinely want to know, because it doesn't make sense to me. Why is Richmond's pit speed limit higher than Dover's?
Maybe NASCAR has it actually faster in real life, but iRacing has it at 35.
No, I checked it. It's that way in the real world too.
Okay, well, that's a good question.
Why? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, we have now 6 left on the lead lap. Seb Kinder is the last car on the lead lap, and he is not that far ahead of Thomas.
Johnny Garrett, you still see him in pit road, and I believe he is going to be coming back out onto the racetrack.
Okay, good. Sorry, Kinder is a good deal of distance down. I thought he was a lot closer, but it's he's about 15 seconds down the racetrack than Thomas. So Thomas might not be able to catch him, though if he gets a second a lap, he might be able to. So it's looking like the top 5 for sure we're going to finish on the lead lap unless someone has a problem in there, and maybe 6. We'll see how it turns out.
Garrett rejoins the racetrack down in 11th place, and he is still 12 seconds clear of McBean, so didn't lose too much there as a result of that.
So it's interesting you had a pretty close race at Portland. Portland, that's kind of its MO in IndyCar history, is the place for close road course finishes.
Really?
There have been 2 very close races there in history. Back in '86 on Father's Day, and I am remorse right now. Oh, Mustanen has dropped out. Lustanen is flashed out. He is DC'd. It is a drop.
No.
It was a drop.
He is back. He's back in it.
Okay,
Still
that was
20
a big,
seconds clear.
That was a big lag. That was a really big lag.
That's concerning. We'll have to keep an eye on that throughout the course of this race.
I am remiss to say this is, I have not said it already, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, grandmothers, mothers-in-laws,
of course,
stepmothers, if you're a mother, happy Mother's Day. I hope you guys are having a great day. And you guys, the men that are on this, watching this, I hope you make sure to take special care of your wife if she's a mother, or your mother, by giving her a call, let her know how much you love and appreciate her. But back in IndyCar history, a very famous race on Father's Day at Portland came down to a finish where Michael Andretti ran out of gas coming off the last corner at the Portland Raceway there, had to coast to the start-finish line. In the meantime, his father beat him out for the win by about a nose. So that was the famous Father's Day close finish. And then there was a finish back during the kart era, or the later day of the kart era, where Blundell got his first IndyCar win, edging out Gilles de Ferran when he was still driving for Walker Racing, and Raul Boesel in a three-way run to the checkered flag. Conditions were raining, or was wet conditions, and at the time the track was drying, so there was a different strategy between tires. And ultimately, it came to the disadvantage of de Ferran, who was leading coming off the final corner, that he had rain tires on, and there was no more wet spots for him to kind of get to those tires into to cool him off and to give him an advantage. And the slick tires that were being worn by Blundell and Raul Boesel is what ultimately gave them the edge, and nearly a three-way photo finish tie for the win. But it was Blundell getting the win there. And that was the closest finish on road course history for IndyCar racing right there at Portland.
It's kind of going back, kind of got sidetracked a bit there, didn't we? But, we're talking about upcoming races. Last season, we had, of course, the Charlotte Motor Speedway, a high-banked mile-and-a-half oval, playing host to the third round of the championships. This season, first oval is, of course, Mobility Resort Motegi, and what a wild race that was. I think so far, definitely the race of the season so far. Our next mile-and-a-half races, though, will be in the back half of the season, after the summer. First race back for the summer break at Kentucky, and that'll be followed up in the 2 weeks after by Chicagoland. I think, aside, of course, from the Indy 500, if I had to pick a race to be excited about, it's a tie between Auto Club and Chicagoland, two of the tracks that are in my top 5 favorites for ovals on iRacing, because I have never, ever had a bad race at either of them. They're just fantastic tracks.
In IndyCar history, 4 of the top 10 closest finishes ever, period, have been at Chicagoland Motor Speedway, and 3 of the top 4 all-time have been at Chicagoland Speedway. So that place is conducive to pack racing, tight finishes. We should see definitely a tight finish. And the great thing about that is these cars in the sim actually race there in real life. So we have, again, a barometer we can measure for. Same thing from Kentucky. Kentucky also was known for, Cameron Dancer right in the turn 7 net code with Rodriguez.
Oh, boy. Cameron Dance off the road, and we'll take a look, find out what happened here. Rodriguez blinking out, and
awful net code.
I mean, I try to be the nice guy broadcast. I'm gonna be the bad guy for once. That is inexcusable. I mean, it's been going on all race. At what point do you need to say, all right, I should just get off the track? Because now you're actively impeding lead lap cars that are in high point scoring positions.
I'm not going to say that Rafi did anything wrong. It's just the net code contact with his car, and I'm sure the blinking it's not helped. But I agree, and there's another battle in the one between Mellis and Lincoln. That's actually a good position.
Mellis getting around Andrew Aitken there. We were watching that before. That drama. Now Aitken off the road and wide.
Off the road.
Oh, boy, and now contact.
That's Egan. That's good. That's a third-place car.
Oh, my
He cut the
goodness.
corner. Now he has to slow down and let them on by. Otherwise, he's going to get a penalty. And
Right.
Restana gets a purple lap.
We are going to look at all of that from above to get a proper angle on what happened there. Take a gander here as this is the approach. Down into turn number 1, round the outside. Mellis goes in deep. And it's all looking fine here. Then Aitken is going to go in hot into turn 4 and overshoot the braking point, locks up, and does keep it relatively on the road. And then right here, I mean, Aitken kind of just cut in like he wasn't really there. But no crash, so all's well ends well. And I think Mellis making a lot of room there for Aitken to get by. He's like, yep, go, just go, just go. Don't worry about it. We'll pretend it didn't happen. But, I mean, like, it goes, and again, like, back to our earlier discussion, I'm not going to say, like, Rafael Rodriguez, he didn't drive wrong there, right? But the connection has been, to be blunt, it's been atrocious today. And when it's at the point where it is actively impeding lead lap cars, you have to start to take a look at things.
Actually, in official races now, and it might be at the next update, I don't think it was in this update, if you have connection issues, you will get basically a flag, a black flag.
That was this
flag. This one. And so, yeah, that is actually a thing in official races now, that if your connection is bad, you will get a black connection flag flashing on your screen, and you'll have to come to pit road. Otherwise, you will then be DQ'd.
Did they not implement that with leagues and hosted racing as well, or is that only officials?
I can't recall. I should have my facts better on this one.
Well, but I feel like with how consistent it's been, there's no way it wouldn't be showing up for him tonight if it was in league sessions.
I just know that it's such a problem across the board on iRacing now. They're instituting some sort of reaction in the system to say, hey, here's a black flag because of your connection. That's kind of what I'm getting to. It's not just these cars. It's just not this session. It's kind of across the board that you see it in everything. And I'm sure you see in a lot of your stock car races or in the beer league that 1 or 2 blinking cars in the lineup. It always seems to be there. Always seems to be there.
Yeah, always seems to be there, and usually they're forced to drop way before it gets to this point. Yeah. Sometimes they don't, but usually it's swiftly taken care of by league administration. And I'm curious to see if there is going to be anything that the CIS stewards will be doing post-race for any of this. Because, I mean, if I'm Dance, I would be genuinely upset about that. I mean, you were within 15 seconds of the leaders. Might have been able to get them if Mooston had made a big mistake. Not anymore. Any chance you might have had if something went awry, it's gone now. Because of a car that's been blinking out the last, hour and a half.
The good news is there's several things that a user can try. There's a lot of YouTube videos on ways to improve your iRacing connection. Sometimes it's just finding a better DNS server. Sometimes it's just regularly rebooting your cable modem or your wireless modem. Some people are on wired connections, wireless connections. I recommend being on a wired connection if you can. But everyone's a little bit different. But luckily, there's some fixes out there. If that doesn't fix the problem, there's other things you can do. But unfortunately, most of those other things you can do involves throwing money at it. What is it? Maybe getting a better internet account that's a little bit faster, or buying new equipment. And some people aren't always in a position to do that. And I feel their pain. I really do. No one likes to see it. No one wants to be part of it. No one wants it to impact their racing. So it's all bad around the world, and not around the world, but across the board, really, for people that suffer it, and then people that are racing against people who are suffering.
Ethernet cables for the win. I'm sure they're messy. They're a hassle. But boy, is it a lot more reliable.
I have a maze behind my desk, and you could, if there was a rat living here, you can make a nest out of it. It's just.
Oh, I don't even have a maze. I have just a ball. a ball was sitting right next to me.
No amount of Velcro straps can organize all that stuff cleanly.
Well, because I got my Ethernet cable, I got the XLR for the microphone, I got Xbox controller, keyboard, mouse, headphones, audio interface, all going into the exact same, like, 6 ports in the back of the PC, and all of it congregates down there, and all of them are black cables, so
Yep.
good luck sorting that. I've thought about it before, but every time I just look at it and I was like, I'm gonna like untangle this. It's gonna be retangled in like an hour. It's no point. I know when to admit defeat. I know when I'm fighting a losing battle. Close to 2 cars on the racetrack, Andrew Wood and Lucas Santos, and haven't really been able to see much between these 2 drivers, although Santos did close 3 seconds that last lap, so potentially an issue for Wood.
Yeah, Wood just might be taking it easy. Now, all these USB devices that we have to plug into our, even like these drivers, right? So some of them have a USB wheel and a USB wheelbase and USB pedals, and on top of that, they might have a button box and something else. I mean, after that, you start looking at all your available USB ports, and they're all full, and then some people have USB hubs, and that makes things more complicated. In fact, one of the things that iRacing sends you sometimes when you have problems, not necessarily iRacing, but even when you have a wheel manufacturer, when you have a wheel problem, they send you this like portable USB application that says, what are all the USB devices attached to your system, and you'll send them back this report, and you'll have like 8 or 9 things that are all USB filling up all your ports, right? And they're like, well, yeah, you're kind of using up all your USB channels. You need to unplug something. Well, what do you unplug? You have a mouse and a keyboard that you need. You have the button box you need. You might have a USB headset that you need. What do you not need now?
Everything.
I need everything. Yeah, that's how I am. Give me the power to run it. Just make it run.
It's like my desktop management. It's like, I have a system. The system is there is no system, but it's my system and it works.
My system. Here's Andrew Wood making a shot here. Oh, to Mustafa just late in the race, setting purple lap after purple lap.
Just like in a Lagos.
Yep.
Oh boy. Bit of a twitch there for Santos as he tries to chase down Andrew Wood. Wood just made the pass on Johnny Garrett as Garrett's still a lap down. I mean, Santos has been closing in on Wood. I just don't think he's going to be able to catch him by the end of the race.
I think with the rough start to his season, get out of this thing with the top 10.
Yeah, right. I mean, and it would be his second top 10. And the first race where he's not really collected, and then he kind of like major crash either. So, small victories. I've been talking to Lucas Santos a bit lately, and credit to Santos. I mean, a lot of drivers, they're entering a new league. They'd be a little bit discouraged after having such a poor start to a season. But, he recognized, right, hey, not a lot of this is a result of my driving. It's just, all of it's been wrong place, wrong time, really. And he's recognized that. He's, had the mindset of, yeah, it sucks, but he said he's here for the long haul. He still plans to run the whole season. He wants to see what he can do. And I think good on him for that, right? I mean, new league, new start. You have a bad start to the season, you don't know if you'll have a good end of the season, though, so may as well see what happens.
That's half the battle right there. So a lot of people that get in these leagues, they get in and then they'll find out that they get discouraged because everyone around them is a bad driver, but not them, right? And they'll say, oh, everyone's a bunch of idiots. Say I'm not going to show up every week. He knows that the quality of driver here is pretty good.
Oh yeah.
And you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And if you keep it up, eventually your ability and luck will shine your way, and you will be getting those good finishes if you have the ability to get there. So that's good on him for sticking it out, because I know a lot of people, they would just be done. They'll be like, I'm not doing good. And reputation for a lot of these drivers is everything. White flag in the air.
And Santos closing the gap to within a second of Andrew Wood. It was at 1.8 the lap prior. if he keeps this pace up, he could actually get him here on this final lap of the race as well. So this fight not over.
Bit of a defensive line down the straightaway. Now the draft envelope of these cars, remember, doesn't exceed much more than a second. Santos is actually kind of in that envelope now under the braking zone, but on the straightaway, he was on the edge of it, so he's not getting much of a benefit from the draft. He's getting a little bit, though.
Gap down at just half a second, and we'll see if that will lead to anything when we come back around. Meanwhile, Thomas Mustonen working through the last series of corners, and yet again, complete and utter domination from the Brickyard. He'll enter Gasoline Alley for the final time. Thomas Mustonen wins the Paper Recycling Systems IndyCar Grand Prix. And now the battle for other spots working their way into the last series of corners. There is Andrew Wood. Santos right behind him, 4/10 between them. Does Santos have an answer through the final corner? Andrew Wood still losing time. 3:10. Santos out wide. Not going to get there. But what if he had one more lap?
Hammer Dance trying to bring it home. And he does.
The last battle across the line, Alexander McBean fends off Andrea Giacometti. But Thomas Mustonen, definitely class of the day this afternoon. 36 seconds clear at the end of that one. Ethan Hagen will walk it off in third. Schwabauer in fourth. Manzato will round out your top five. And the last car, the lead lap, the Frenchman. What a wild way to kick off this race. Tell you what, that was a pretty good battle of the closing laps, and I'm going to be honest, if Santos has one more lap, I think he gets Wood.
Catching Andrew is one thing. I always say that he has so many starts in these cars and so much depth runs racing in other leagues. Passing Wood is different. So it would have been interesting to definitely see, but there you see him standing in the south end of the racetrack doing donuts in front of the short chute grandstands.
The iconic motorsports driver, a happy camper after tonight. Understandably
easy peasy.
So. Yeah, no kidding, right? I mean, a walk-off win for him this afternoon, and we will now get a chance to get a rundown of your official post-race results this afternoon, as it is going to be one Thomas Mustonen, the Finnish driver, coming home number one this afternoon, ahead of Cameron Dance in second. Ethan Hagen finishes in third, with Schwabauer in fourth, Manzato in fifth, Sebastian Kinder, the last car on the lead lap, in sixth. Andrew Wood just barely holds on ahead of the Screeching Moose Motorsports number 19 of Lucas Santos. Lucas LaVille in ninth, and Jan Hoffman rounds out the top 10.
Back at 11th is Johnny Garrett McBean with a good finish up to 12th. In fact, I think McBean might have been one of our biggest gainers of the day. I'll have to double check that. He's up 11. Nope, not quite, but he's their second biggest gainer. Giacometti is 13th. Stefan Mellis is our biggest gainer of the day. He finished today, improved 12 spots to 14th. Andrew Hagen 15th. Rafi, unfortunately, it's just a rough day for him all the way around with the internet connection. 16th. Sturm in 17th. Barkenau 18th. Logan Simmons, not the finish he wanted, and it's not indicative of where he was running for most of the day. 19th. And Julian with his first start of the season in 20th.
And then moving back into 21st spot, we're now into drivers that have not finished the race. Adam Ecker down to 21st, along with Florian Gaud. Matthias Ezekiel, Marcovini, Jamie Wilson, and Randy Shoemake will close out the field. Shoemake and Groscher both did not make the start to this race. Groscher did not plan on it, and not sure what happened to Shoemake to cause him not to make the start of racing at here this afternoon. So that is going to be that then. Our race is concluded. We'll get the chance now to give a chit chat here to the top three at the end of the night. Now, not expected to be able to talk to Mustonen. Mustonen, not usually one for the cameras, and it looks like it's going to be a similar situation here this afternoon. So instead, we'll move down to second place runner Cameron Dance this afternoon. And, well, Cam, you come home second this afternoon. Not quite the closing battle we had with you and boosted in this week. You end up going for a bit of a slide to the last lap, or the closing lap, sorry. But other than that, relatively flawless race from that number 1 car.
Yeah, we had some decent pace when our tyres were in sort of that optimum temperature, and then as they got hot, it was just, yeah, the car didn't quite seem to have the pace that we wanted or needed to keep up with Thomas, which wasn't ideal, even though we tried a couple of things different today to possibly help that, but obviously there's still a little bit more room for improvement. So it is what it is, though. Like, at the end of the day, a second's I'm not going to complain about. It's one of those things that you keep for a rainy day, because at some point that rainy day is going to happen and you're going to be looking at the good side of the fence rather than the bad side. So yeah, we'll just keep pushing on and picking up these second places.
Second place is still a good run for you. It was close between you and Mustonen entering this race. Do you reckon, is there anybody else that might be looking to contend for the title with you alongside Mustonen? Do you think it's going to be between the two of you throughout the duration of the season?
It's hard to really gauge, to be honest. Like, it's been very much a show between the two of us at the front, really, but also in the season so far. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if anybody sort of turns up in the last couple of races, well, the next half of the season, and starts to fight the two of us at the front. But, yeah, I think it's probably just going to be a two-horse race at this stage, at least, if we just keep getting the consistent results we have of the first and seconds.
Well, 3 weeks from now, we're going to be swinging on down to the Milwaukee Mile for the Miller 200 for the first week of June. And the last race I had at the 1 mile racetrack at the Classic IndyCar Series was at New Hampshire. It was chaotic filled, would be even then putting it mildly. Course package still in play at the flat 1 mile oval. What's going to be your take on it?
We actually did pretty good last time we went to Milwaukee in the series. We had a car that was on for a podium, and then unfortunately on the final caution off a restart, I can't remember who it was, whether it was Marshall or whether it was Andrew Wood or someone, I can't quite remember now, but someone spun the wheels up off the restart, and we ended up having to pass on the inside, and then we got a black flag, and that dropped us down to like P11, so that wasn't ideal, but yeah, looking forward to it. It's been a good track so far from what we ran at last time when we were there. So yeah, we'll give it a red hot crack. Probably a little bit of room for improvement as well on that setup as well, I think. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be one of those races, I guess, like what New Hampshire had, where it's going to be probably a bit of a mixed bag, and just got to make sure you don't put it on the fence, really.
And before we let you go, one more thing I want to bring up: the turn 7 incident there in the last 10 laps or so. Obviously, a bit of a setback for you this race. Do you reckon that would have changed the outcome at all had that not happened?
Probably not. It was like the gap was what it was at that point, and it was just had to sort of cruise home. And then obviously that incident happened. Raphael was blinking quite a bit during the race from when I was behind him, based on what I saw. So it wasn't ideal. And then looking back at the replay, it was massive neck code as well. So that didn't help. But yeah, it is what it is. At least like I had a massive gap back to Ethan and the rest of the field, so that was good and meant we didn't lose too much time.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck when we go racing in 3 weeks then over at the Milwaukee Mile. Congratulations on taking second place this afternoon, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, cheers, boys.
Cameron Dance will take the Orbit Drop Bear Motorsports to a solid number 2 finish this afternoon, and Mustonen has actually popped in. We'll talk to him at the end. For now, Gary, I'll pass these on down to you with third place, Ethan Hagen.
Hey, Ethan, I saw what you did earlier this week in the IR18 here in the IIS, getting the win in that Wednesday top split. And I went ahead and made you my pick tonight, so I don't know if I made you jinxed you or not. But kind of you got in that third spot, and you just held on, and maybe had a couple incidents happen around you. But, I mean, really, from your point of view, when the guys got around you there early on and kind of pulled away, you kind of held your own in third, and that's kind of where you finished the race. Just anything going on? I mean, there's not a lot going on back there. I mean, just keep your balance and keep your wits about you, not make mistakes, and that's kind of how you just brought the thing home.
Yeah, you know, comparing to the IR18 and the IR05, I mean, obviously they're not the same.
Right.
This car is definitely a lot heavier in my opinion, and you need to be a lot more easier on the throttle input and from entry and to exit. But no, it was still a good race. But I mean, I'm happy but also disappointed with third. I think I probably could have, at least got second or maybe the win. But we'll take it. It's definitely redemption for what happened last week at Interlagos, and we'll just go on from there.
Well, I mean, that's it now for at least the road courses for a little bit. We're going to an oval next. I'm not sure how you feel about that, but I mean, getting out of here with a third, all things considered, you can't be too upset with that. Any shout outs, any friends, family, sponsors, anyone want to say hi to with kind of getting this? I want to say it was a very exciting race for you. You just kind of did what you had to do and bring the car home. Most people had a lot of more excitement behind you. So in hindsight, I guess you kind of did pretty well today. Everyone else kind of struggled behind you.
Yeah, it is not an easy track. Like some places there's grip, some places they're not. But yeah, just mostly just control pace. I think everybody was just hoping that something happens to the front leaders that. I mean, I don't want them to happen to them, but at the same time, when you're just driving third, like pretty much a lonely race, you just want something to happen, make it more interesting. But no, both Tomas and Cameron did a very good job. I mean, congrats to Thomas for winning this race. I mean, dominating as usual. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to thank everyone from Team Watson Racing, all the drivers, my teammates, and also my friends and family back home. Just let me do what I love to do, is just do sim racing.
Well, congratulations on the P3 here. Critical podium finish on a road course. That was a very long race, 85 laps, very long day. It's been a long weekend. I don't know if you ran any official 500s this weekend, but it's good to have the weekend over, get your rest, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks when we get back to the Oval at Milwaukee.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll definitely be racing the Open 500 in
Big
future.
week next weekend then, yep.
Yep.
And back to you, Nolan.
That was Ethan Hagen coming home number 3 this afternoon. We will be able to actually catch up with our race winner tonight as well. Thomas Mustonen bringing it home here at the end of the night. And, well, for the second road course race in a row, Thomas, it is complete and utter domination for you for the Icon of Motorsports number 22. You seem to be on cruise control out there. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to say about the race.
Well, we
it's
could
all about keeping T1 at the start with dealing with the pressure from camera for the early laps. But once they started fuel saving and dropped back, it was really just like it just managed to pace and just had a brilliant car underneath me, tons of confidence. And really, all the difficulties were some, let's say, questionable by the back markers. But all in all, pretty close to a perfect day, I would say.
There was, of course, the kind of nervy moment there we had in the back 20 laps of this race where your connection seemed to drop, and we thought for a good few seconds you were going to be out, and then about a third of a lap later we saw you pop back in. What was going on with that one?
Yeah, no idea. I recently lost the IIS race quite badly due to the same issues, so I don't know what's going on, to be honest, but thankfully it only came up once, and yeah, just didn't throw me out this time.
Well, it's been a good a good season for you so far on the road course side of things. And, of course, taking a win as well at Mobility Resort Motegi. Will it be 4 in a row, though, for the race win column when we go around to not Mobility Resort Motegi, to the Milwaukee Mile in 3 weeks?
Yeah, I really have no idea about Milwaukee. The track I've never raced, only turned a couple laps around there in the IRAC, so it's gonna be interesting. But I think we're gonna have a great setup there again, and if we do like a small Motegi, I'm sure there's gonna be a chance to fight for the win once again.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck when we go racing there in 3 weeks. Congratulations on taking your 3rd win in a row this afternoon, and we'll see you in Wisconsin.
Yeah, thank you.
That was the Iconic Motorsports driver number 22, taking the hat trick here this afternoon, Gary, and what a race. And it didn't even really clue in on me that, hey, that's 3rd win in a row. That's what happens when you have a few weeks between seasons, right? You kind of almost forget those small details, but, I mean, hey, he's looking to really put himself out there as a serious title contender.
It would be a Canadian that would call it's the 3 out of the 4 of the Grand Slam a hat trick. Well, you know what? He's now with his this win. Now he's now tied Ethan, Henry Bennett, Robert who else is? I think it's just Robert, Henry, and Ethan. Yeah, now 5th all time with his 7th win in league history for wins. So he's moving on with the list. If he gets another win and Cameron doesn't, he ties Cameron next. So Cameron looking over his shoulder now. But that is all time. We head to the Oval. Doesn't sound like he has much experience there at the Oval, but I always find with these guys that are really good drivers and have really good iRating as they're good drivers for a reason. And he will figure out Milwaukee, or I almost said New Hampshire. He will figure out Milwaukee, and I'm sure he will be just fine there. So I'm looking forward to getting back to the ovals, a little bit more place that I'm familiar with as well. That these cars have a little bit of history at as well, and we will see that in a couple weeks. But a good race here, but it was really kind of a mirror image of what I kind of broadcasted on Friday. The top 3 kind of took off into the distance, and then 4th on back was really fighting for something something after another, whether it be just fighting, making mistakes, or close battles in proximity with other cars. Much the same way here. 85 laps is a long time, so these guys are very tired. I'm sure they're glad to be done with this race and moving on to the next round. It's good to be here, and thanks for having me.
And you can see the championship standings exiting this race as well. This is, of course, not official yet, completely projected, but Mustonen expected to take the points lead by 8 here, but I mean, Cameron was highlighting he thinks it'll be between him and Mustonen, and when you look at the, we're talking 46 to like 54-point gap between first, second, and then back to third. It's hard to say he's wrong, right? If it's going to keep up like this, it's going to be between those two for the championship. But how about that fight for third? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, all within 8 points of third place. Logan Simmons is going to have his hands full for third place as well in the overall standings, it seems.
Well, and again, I mentioned this during the race. Logan, I think if you were to ask him, is probably more of an oval guy rather than a road course guy, and now the ovals are coming up. Andrew Wood's good on both, so he'll continue cutting that into that gap a little bit. Johnny Garrett, I think, is more of an oval guy rather than a road course guy as well. I think he's looking forward to the ovals. JB Wilson, I suspect he's one of those type of racers, much like Wood. It's good on both. So they're kind of looking for a bit of a venue change to maybe help shorten this up, but it goes without saying, Mustonen and Dance aren't really taken away from the field in terms of Alex Palou level dominance, but much like I keep saying with Palou, at least at this point, until he wins the Indy 500, which he probably will, at this point, it's a long season. This is a calendar-long campaign that they have scheduled out for this season. A lot can change before the summer break and even after the summer break. So don't go anywhere. This isn't over yet.
It's not over, and, well, there's going to be a little bit of a break before we get to round number 5 at the Milwaukee Mile. It's a 3-week gap, and coming on up over the next week on Green Flag TV. Both Blazing Pedals and ASRL are off today for Mother's Day, so we'll return tomorrow with the High Time Racing League Guardian Premier Series for round 5 of the Rockingham Speedway. That is followed up by round 6 of the PSR Sim Cam Expo Truck Series with round 14 and race 2 of the Chase for the Speed Cup Series at North Wilkesboro Speedway. On Saturday, the SRA NAS Classic Series will be out with the Corral 110 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. That is also followed up then by the Blazing Pedals ARCA Series with race 11 at Texas and the regular series cutoff for the Darlington Raceway for ASRL over for round number 12 on Sunday night. All of that and more coming on up on Green Flag TV. If you want to learn more about who we are and what we can offer you, you are free to check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. For the meantime, my name is Manola Rempel alongside Gary Godsell. Thank you so much for joining us for more Sunday night Classic IndyCar Series action. We'll see you in 3 weeks when we swing out to the Milwaukee Mile in Wisconsin.